The other terms that we keep hearing about in the context of AI are agents and copilots and agentic AI.
Huh.
I'll leave the floor to you to explain these terms.
Let me do that and also add MCP to it, and I'll explain a little bit about what's happening here. So as I said, what is happening with AI is that you have a model, you give it some prompt, which is the way you send your message to the model. The model gives you back a result, right? Now, and then what happens? Then human has to come, take a look at it, and then decide what next to happen. So smart people felt that, why do I need to do this way? Why can't I get the computer or AI to listen to signals, see what's happening, generate options, and prioritize options, and even pick and go ahead and execute them as well. So this is sort of what is the complete the loop, so to say, that can I redefine some of these and make it do some of the work packets as well, right? So these kinds of things, which are not just prompt based but are actually working on behalf of you, are typically referred to as agents, right? So these agents now have the power, and you give it the power to go and execute operations on the basis of whatever you tell them. So you say, okay, I want to plan a trip to, let's say, England, and I want to do sightseeing for 4 days, the business for 3 days, what should I do? So it gives me back options. I say, no, check hotels also, find out if there is space in that hotel. How much is it going to cost, right? So now I have to go and ask these sites which are already there, maybe go to booking.com, this, that. And booking.com will say, no, I need password ID. So okay, I empower my agent to say, no, mera agent hai, mere behalf mein jaoge, you will check the airline, you'll check the fares, you'll check all this stuff, you do this, do that, and you give me back a full-on detailed stuff, right? So this is sort of what agents are doing. So what happens is, you can build these agents very easily now. Agents can be built, and you kind of make the agents do this kind of work, and they go to sites or other assets platforms, come back and ask these questions. Now, humans have done this by saying going to the web page, or programs have done this through using APIs as traditionally what people have done. But what happens in this kind of a situation is that AI is not always able to give very precise answers for parameters and exact x, y, x ka value, y ka value. So the API model has evolved to say that, I can understand. I also put some AI in there, so it can also understand, that what you mean, and it can figure things out, do some more steps, and be a little bit more flexible about how it answers, and that's what is being referred to as MCP. This is model MCP, the Model Context Protocol. So Anthropic released this about 1.5 years, 2 years back, and they open sourced it, and a lot of people have been converting their APIs to MCPs. And what this does is now, so if I have, for example, Claude as my Anthropic prompt-based engine, I can, through these MCP layers, which you can download and are available, you can connect your things like my file system, my email system, my Notion, whatever else I have. I can connect that to my Claude window, and I can start to ask questions about my data in my own things.
World's data, my own data.
So I'm asking it to do कि मेरे को files में से ये निकाल के दो. So now it's an agent, right? So the agent is actually doing the work. It's actually looking up and doing all this stuff. So I go to the travel agency site, go to united.com, and then figure out all these things. So United will publish an MCP, Model Context Protocols, and you can connect that MCP inside your prompt, or give it to the agent, and then the agent gets the credentials from you, and then it can go on your behalf and do various things like this. So this has become really rave in the sense, if I know exactly what process is, why should I do it myself? Why can't I let agents do this? So this agents business has started to kind of caught the imagination of everyone, and people have been building these agents and sub-agents and all of that stuff.
Can I ask you about vibe coding?
Yes, that's it's a very, I think, the right discussion to have. So let me sort of start from the little bit of a introduction and then explain to you vibe coding. We talked about language models. So language models, we use tokens which were from language, Now, if you know, for the last many years, computer science and computer code has been archived and saved in places like GitHub. So GitHub has all the world's code that you can
Yeah,
think about.
sure.
So everyone said, oh,
Uses
this is
GitHub.
another language. So let's tokenize the language and let's go and learn everything that a programming can do, right? So the entire programming coding language that was already there is another language. It's very easy for a computer to read the code because it was meant for computers to run and all that. So over the years, people have, just like they have done with language, they have built a language model for code.
Code itself, yeah.
So now it can generate code because it started out by saying, okay, so I'm writing a code, can I fix in some more things, can I do something more? And slowly and steadily we can do a lot more by describing what to do rather than actually generating the code, writing the code, because AI can generate that code. So now a few years back, there's this gentleman called Andrej Karpathy. He used to be at Tesla and now he is kind of very popular on Twitter and he writes well and he has lots of good ideas. So he came back with this idea of vibe coding. So the idea with vibe coding is that you type in English, you give the commands and it goes and generates the entire system that you want, entire code, whatever. So you can do quite a bit of work using this kind of stuff. Now a few things that have happened in the last few years is that the context window has improved. These agents can do multiple things. So if you had to build a software solution, so let's say I want to build a website that will do, so take the travel agent thing, right? So I want to build for ID Bombay, I want to build my own ID Bombay version of this thing. It will go to various travel agencies. It will ensure that it follows the protocol कि प्रोफेसर है तो उसको फर्स्ट क्लास मिलेगा, अगर वो कोई स्टाफ है तो उसको कोच मिलेगा, ये वो सब पूरा रूल्स उसको मालूम है, किसको क्या देना है, होटल कैसा होना चाहिए, ये सब पूरा फंडा उस तरह से बना के इल गो से कि ये हमारा एक अलग सिस्टम होना चाहिए. So then you can vibe code it, कि मेरे को बताना कि I want to make a rules for this thing, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then it will generate all the code, the systems, connections between various things, and build out the entire system by writing code in English. Basically you are explaining what you want.
Asking in English.
हाँ, you are explaining what you want. English में हिंदी भी हो सकता है. But you are asking what to do in natural language, and you don't need to know all the nuances of वो उसका JavaScript है कि कौन सा Python कहाँ पे है, कुछ you don't need to know anything. All of that gets generated beautifully and you get the entire system built out. Of course it makes mistakes, it can give you the wrong things, you need to know what you are asking, you need to know, you may get inefficient code. All of these things are the natural caveats that you have, but theoretically anyone who is not a programmer can now write professional code without learning any programming language or without learning how systems integrate, and they can do fairly complex ones over the last few years. So this has made potentially everyone a programmer. So everybody can be a programmer, anybody can write code. So this whole thing has democratized programming in different ways. So this whole concept of I just decide on my own, write stuff in English and then it generates the code that is needed is typically referred to as vibe coding, and this has become like a hot thing, and everyone, I'm sure all of you and the students as well would have played around with some vibe coding tools, and there are lots of them now. There's Cursor, there's Lovable, there's Emergent, so there is like a whole bunch of tools that are available that can do this kind of stuff, and you can generate into Python, you can generate into whichever JavaScript that you need or whatever else that you want to do. And you can also generate agents out of this. So you can say that I want to do this, but I want to have multiple agents that go and fetch from different websites, different things, and bring that in and all that. So what has happened is the ability to do a lot more with kind of limited knowledge of. You don't need to know everything about everything to be able to generate code and all that stuff is very interesting.
As long as you know what you want.
Now I want to say two related things. देखिए, code was available, large amounts of code was available as a training set. So coding became the first sort of place where whiteboarding started to happen.
Of course.
Now potentially, can this be done with other things? So I was talking to somebody saying that, hey, you seem to have all the catalog of engines, large ones, truck ones, bus, car, ye, wo, sab. you have small ones. So he said, hey, can you vibe code or build me a new engine which is right for a drone, right? It should have this property, that property. Theoretically, it's possible. But
so if you have the specifications
you have to have lots of data
and lots of data.
to train this. Buildings hai, so can it design a new building?
Can it
Theoretically, all these things are possible. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have started the process with language, and we built language models. Closest to language was code. So you got code models, language models for code, and these kinds of models could be done for other things as well. So this whole concept of a neural network.
And then let me ask you a question that many of my students are thinking, some are asking. In this AI world, what happens to their jobs?
Yes.
So have you, I'm sure you've thought about it. And
Yeah, everyone is asking this question, not just fresh people, people who are already employed are also worried about this particular problem, right? So it is a real problem for sure, and what will happen is something to think about. But let me sort of say a few things that might address or at least try to suggest few things. So first is, as I mentioned, there is no shortage of work. Okay, there's enough things to do. There are enough problems to solve on, and we talk through AI, and there are many AI problems also that are still not solved. We are still at the early stages of AI. So people who have deep knowledge of how to build better AI systems, new models, there's enough to do in that category. Of course, that requires very high level of sophistication. On the other hand, if you look at the vibe coding and all that, everyone now has the tools to do very productive work. So what I tell people is work is essentially very simplistically a product of effort multiplied by productivity.
okay, effort into productivity.
Effort into productivity. So if productivity were to go up for the same work,
Effort
has to come down. On the other hand, for the same effort with greater productivity, more work is possible.
Sure. So
Okay.
yeah, what
so
you're
now
saying.
this is the interesting problem. Now, can you find more work? Is there more work? Who finds the new work? And can you find it in the right time? Because the skill to build code and do all these things, potentially AI can also help you. So these are all interesting questions to be thinking about in some sense. So this is at very high level of what I think can happen to AI. So one of the skills you need to acquire is to focus on how to generate work. And this goes to another different thing that I want to share, since we have students here, and this is something I tell all the kids in general, that kids in this sort of the 18 to 25 range that we might have in our group here, because of advances in medical science and other things, are going to live till 120, 100, 120, whatever. And the good news is they're going to live like they are 40 for 40 years. So they're going to be productive for a very long time, which means they have a 60-year work career.
Yeah.
And those graduating in 2026, working 60 years, they're going to work till 2086. Right? Now the reality is that, whatever you might say about AI and what might happen in 5 years, 10 years, nobody knows. I don't know, you don't know, and the kids also don't know. So the reality is that what is going to be relevant in 2035 is something you have to figure out in 2033. So you need to build the muscles to ensure that you can learn what is relevant just in time of when it's relevant. That's the key skill. And that is something that we need to understand and appreciate. And a related skill that I would say is that since you're going to work 60 years, companies are not going to live that long. So you're going to get fired many times. You're going to have to look at different ways of thinking. And one of the things that I tell people is that we are heading into a gig world where, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but let me make sort of the overall statement that I've been telling everyone is that we are entering a world where there is no shortage of work, but a huge shortage of jobs. Right? So there's no shortage of work, but huge shortage of jobs. So the skill is in how do you convert work to jobs. Those who can convert work to jobs are going to be very successful, because the ability to get work done is now available through AI and all these other tools. And if you can find work and figure out how to convert it, which is the real thing. So this is what I want to commend you for what you're doing right now as part of this entrepreneurship course. So your objective in your entrepreneurship course that you are helping people to understand is, how do I translate work to
jobs,
job or economic benefit to me? Now another important thing to think about is that you don't have to think about this as a one and whole forever. Can be pieces, fragmented, aggregation of multiple things. And this is where I think the gig world is going to happen. And one example of what I tell people about gig is to think about how movies are made.
Okay.
So when a movie is made, you bring in the crew for the movie. So they come together, they shoot the movie, and then once the movie is done, the post-produce gets distributed, the team gets disbanded and you make a new movie. But while the movie is going on, say the hero or whatever, he's in multiple movies at the same time. At the same time. So this is for the future of jobs. So people will work concurrently in many
Multiple
different
things.
unrelated things often. And they will string together many of these kinds of gigs as you go along. So I like to tell people that gig is not just about Uber drivers and potentially the sort of
Swiggy delivery
or the urban clap or whatever else. They are more related to even high-end jobs. So films, movies, actors, IPL players, they are all in the gig world. So during the period of time, they may be doing many gigs and they string gigs together. So if this is the world that we see in the future, what should we learn now? Right? That's the good question. So the three most important skills that I tell people right now, one is the mindset. You need to understand how to convert work to jobs. And the example I tell people is, and let me be very candid, skills does not translate to jobs. Just because you have skills doesn't mean you have jobs. The skill to convert
a work to a job, is what gets you a,
So example I tell people is, look at these dog walkers. Okay, each of them makes 6,000 to 8,000 rupees per dog, and they run like 6 to 8
dogs at the same time.
Over a 90-minute period, they run for 30 minutes, next guy, whatever else. And 3 hours, the guy earns more money than a fresh engineer would earn. Okay, and what kind of skills does he have? But he has the ability to identify a problem and that needs a solution. This is what's going to happen.
So
So
nice.
we are going to see more and more of these kinds of things happening, where he may be programming, vibe coding during the afternoons, but he loves dogs, so he does some of these things in the morning and the evening, takes care of half a dozen dogs or elderly or whatever else. So a lot of these kinds of creative jobs are going to happen, and in just counting on one thing to say, okay, I'm going to get join a company and work there for the rest of my life. That's not a very realistic assumption. Okay.
And you said two things: A, life is longer, and perhaps
longer.
the company is not
going to getting shorter. The nature of work within companies is
getting
changing.
different. Yeah.
So all of these kinds of things are there. So what I tell all the students and everyone else in general is that you are responsible for your own life and your career. This is the first thing you should get in your mind. Don't blame someone else. It's up to you, right? Everyone has the same amount of time. Everyone has access to the same kinds of tools. AI has made it very democratized and easy to do. You have immense power to get things done. It's up to you and your creativity to figure out how to convert opportunities to earning potential for you, right? So going back to the three skills that I started out with, one is the mindset. The second skill that we encourage people to learn, and we have this as part of the ASRA, we have a program on 3 credits that we have created. So one credit is on mindset. The second credit is how to manage your own money.
How to manage your money.
Yeah. So the reality is you don't get paid every month. You don't have a PF. You don't have pension. Those things are gone. Anyway, pension is gone. But even the PF, monthly salary, those are all gone. So you will get paid when you complete a project. So at the end of gig, you will get the payment. So there will be
you will be period.
But you need to understand how to invest, how to keep it, where should you go, what are the returns, what happens if you buy a house, EMI, all of this stuff. You need to know how to manage money. And just demographics, all the kids will earn more than their parents. It has happened consistently. We earn more than our parents did, and our kids will earn more than us. So with that reality, we don't train our kids enough about how to manage their money and the consequences of this periodic funding that you're going to get. Not every day, you're not going to get paid every month.
Or not on the first of every month, Okay.
And the third thing is, see, in a gig world, when the gig ends, you have to find the next gig. Right? So the skill of identifying the next work, the sales skills that you need, are critical for every gig worker. So, and this is where I think some of your courses become very relevant, and what you teach as part of entrepreneurship and some of the work that you do at the SISIT, which is why I'm so excited about being here and working with you, is because you are giving these students the skill to identify how to identify problems and sort of make their own jobs and create jobs for other people, figure out how to manage money, and then finally be able to get your next gig. So the skills become very important. So this is really what I find is going to be irrespective of AI or otherwise. This is sort of where it is.
This is music. For me, the two things that you said that really matter are I'm not good at managing money, but identifying
You
an
make so
opportunity.
much money that it doesn't matter to you.
It was never something that interested me, but identifying an opportunity or a problem and solving it. And the third one, which is pitching oneself. So,
that's one part of-
and having the
Correct.
skill to go and pitch yourself to get the next gig. I'm now going to ask you what is today's last question, final question. I have known you for a while and I know how extensively you use AI. So, can you just share with all of us not just what are the tools that you use, but in what context and what all you use artificial intelligence for?
Yeah, so I'm a big user of
Yeah,
AI.
you're a big user.
I'm using AI for pretty much everything and all kinds of things. But let me give you some tools as well that I have paid versions of it. Not suggesting that everyone needs
Should
to
use the
can
paid
use
version.
the
Yeah.
free versions of many of these things. But so one is that I've been using Grammarly for many years. It's like a co-pilot for me. So it helps me within the context of my code, my text. It sort of improves it, cleans it up, makes sure mistakes are not there, grammar is fixed and all. I find it to be very, very valuable. And I find that after you learn it use it for a while, it gets
used to you.
a little bit. And it does a pretty good job of doing that. So that's one thing that I use. I keep all my sort of life, so to say, I manage it all in Notion. So I really like the product. I've been using it for more than 5 years now. And I just pretty much have everything that I do in Notion.
Even personal stuff is,
Personal stuff.
also. So it's a repository
my
of
personal
work
wiki.
and it's your personal Wikipedia. Yeah.
Not Wikipedia, Wiki.
Wiki. Okay. Yeah.
So it has all the details about all my projects, all activities I'm doing. And the interesting thing that I like is that when you read something on the browser and you say, oh, I feel I should keep it somewhere, you can
just drag and
snapshot
drop it
into, no, not even drag and drop it.
Snapshot.
So within the browser, right, you have a Notion button you can install, and you click the Notion button, it'll go to wherever it needed to go to, and you can do share, and you can share into my Notion. So I have like this managing careers as a different folder. I have a folder for AI. I have a folder for biology, and there's a bunch of folders, and each of them I see something I put
Add
it
to
in.
it. Yeah.
Of course, I use it a lot for research kind of things. So I would always ask if I have to do some new project or I have to do something new. I would ask AI to say, okay, give me this, that, and other things. I've done a few book preface, forewords, kinds of stuff. So there again, I would give what I want and then get the
response
AI to
and
kind
then
of put it clean, make sure. I don't even have to really think very much about how to do it. You've been using WhisperFlow quite a bit to record. So you do audio, you keep recording, and then it just puts it in one place, and then you get AI to say, okay, clean this whole thing up and make it 800 words and all that stuff. So it's beautiful in making sure text and all that stuff happens. It's extremely good with research kind of things. So you say, okay, like for example, I use Notebook LM quite a bit. So I would go to Notebook LM, give it a few references, start with something and say, go tell me more about this area. So it'll go generate more, and then you can say, okay, build me a mind map. I'm big into mind maps.
mind maps.
So I use Xmind for my mind maps. So I use Xmind as my tool. Everything I do, anytime I'm doing something, I start with mind maps. Or if I now Google and all this also, when I do some work, I say, okay, build a mind map out of it. So it goes and generates a mind map. I've been using Cloud Coworker quite a bit. So I have certain projects where I want certain research to be done. I have defined my .md files, as they call it, and I have all of that stuff. So it generates me a whole bunch of reports, so I'm on an investment committee, so I get a lot of that stuff done using Cloud Cowork. So that's something I've been using. I've done a little bit of vibe coding, but I'm not really involved in putting the code out. So
You were not doing that earlier.
I wasn't doing much of that, but I've tried it out just to see what kind of things you can get, and I've tried some of Cursor, Lovable, and also Emergent. Quite good, it can do things. But again, what happens is that I don't want to kind of go set up a website or anything like that, because then I don't want to go that far. So I generate it, but I don't publish
You're
it
learning,
really. I'm
or you're
mostly
using
previewing.
your.
I preview it and I
But
let
you-
it go.
you are
I have generated code that goes into Notion, so I have put things on top of Notion. Can you build me a workflow on top of that? For presentations, I've been using Gamma quite a bit off and on, and of course I don't always use Gamma, but I find Gamma gives me consistent picture. So I make Gamma generate a thing, I push it out into PowerPoint, and add my things and add pictures from Gamma into my stuff and mix and match and do a whole bunch of things like that. So that has improved my productivity a lot. I use Canva a lot for images. I find them to be very useful. Most of my job I'm doing mostly
Talking
PowerPoint
and presenting.
presenting. So anytime I get a
No,
new
and
problem,
researching, sorry, you do a lot.
so I get a new problem, I want to work something out, I start with a mind map. I fill that mind map in with research. I listen to a lot of podcasts. So every time I listen to a podcast, if I can get the transcript, I would take the transcript and
Upload
push
that
it
also
into
to-
this mind map, or put a connector to that from my mind map, or push it into Notion, and all these sort of come together in some nice ways. So I've been very productive,
Absolutely.
enjoying learning new
You know,
things, and it's been a very good fun thing, and I would encourage. So let me make it simpler, okay? So I think all students, if I were somewhere in that situation, I would start. I like Notion a lot, so I would use that. I like Xmind a lot for mind maps. I find mind maps is a very nice way to get
of
this
thinking.
to happen. I do have paid versions of Gemini.
Claude.
Book LM is sort
Book
of free,
LM,
but it's there. It integrates into my Gemini. I have a Claude, I have ChatGPT, and I also have a Perplexity
Okay.
paid version there. But I think, yeah.
And
those
Gamma
are
and Canva are the
Gamma is
presentations.
also, I
of-
have a paid version, and Canva also there's a paid version.
Okay, so this is
But I
a.
run a software business, so if I don't pay for software, that wouldn't be fair to my community. So I have to have fully of paid versions of everything I use. So that's, my thinking at the moment.
Thank you so much, Anand. I know that I say this on behalf of everyone who's listening, all the students and learners. You helped demystify AI. I think that's the first thing. You made it easier on us to understand in the language that we understand. So, first and foremost, thank you for that. You did not, however, shy away from several technical things which we have learnt along the course of the last maybe hour or so with you. You shared with us the personal usage that you do, and I find it fascinating that someone who should be retired or who could be retired is like, going into doing new things.
Yeah, I liked one thing else that you just said, that you talk about it as learners rather than students.
Yes.
And
So
I think the learners part is very important, and all of us have to be continuous learners.
Perfect.
And we all need to build that learning muscle on an ongoing basis, and each one of us learns very differently. And the faster we figure that out, the better off we are. So keep learning is what I would be my message to all of you. And
Thank you.
it's so much fun working with you. Thank you for
Thank you so
inviting me.
much, Anand.